Yo, what is good, Vibers? Welcome to this quick beginner's guide on Ghost. My goal for this video is to take you from having no knowledge of Ghost to at least having some semblance of an idea of what's going on your very first time playing him. And we're going to do that by talking through his abilities and their synergy with each other, some potential weapon options, as well as some powers. So starting off with Ghost's LMB, the MK7 Glyph Rifle. This is his primary power. This is your big baddie machine gun. And if we look at it, hold to fire deals extra damage to enemies dazed by spike grenade. And if we look at the details, hold to fire a 30 round magazine deals damage scaling based on your items. This damage decays over your first 10 rounds to 50% for the remaining 20 rounds in the magazine. So we can see that indicated by this little bar over here on the left. You see literally the first third of my magazine is like this bright green, and the last half is like the duller green, and that's reflected in the visual of my shots. So see how like this first part of my burst is that juicy green, and then it kind of like dies off. So basically what that's showing us visually is this first chunk of the magazine is the juiciest, and it's going to, this first bullet's going to be the biggest, and it's going to scale down from that first bullet to the back half of the magazine by 50%. So we can see the first bullet's hitting for 40, the last bullets are hitting for 20. So literally the first bullet compared to the last bullets, there's, it's going to be double. But you only get one first bullet where you have a bunch of last bullets, right, per magazine. And so basically what this is telling us to do is burst fire. Like if we want to sort of maximize the value of this added damage, if we can get this sort of burst fire feel going with Ghost, like that's going to give us kind of the biggest pump as far as damage per second. But that's not something to always do. There's definitely going to be scenarios where it's worth it to hold all the way down still. And that's going to be like when you're basically bursting off of your other abilities. But in general, if you're just sort of poking with the machine gun, you're going to get more value. And you can see it's like a really fast reset. It's pretty fast to like reset the burst, right? But you're kind of wanting to just like burst through, watch my little meter over here, just burst through this chunky part of the magazine, and just like a quick let go of the LMB and then pressing it right back down is just going to let that kind of like reset itself. And that's going to give you like the big chunky burst damage when you're kind of like at a range in team fights, right? Taking a look at Ghost's passive, it's one of like the simplest passives in the game. Some champions have some pretty complex passives. Ghost is literally just, if you get a knock, you will reset your dash. So let's take a look, starting off with his actual abilities and his combat slide, his shift, his dash. Press to slide forward, hold to slide further. Ghost is one of those hunters where on the surface, his kit seems pretty simple, like this thing, right? Very simple passive. Pretty simple machine gun when you look at it, especially if you're not considering the burst thing. But what you'll start to realize the more you play Ghost is his kit and the way you can use his abilities is a lot deeper than it seems on the surface. And I think his combat slide is like a perfect example of that, because if we hold it, we go pretty far and it goes on full cooldown. Based on how long we hold it, that determines how far we go and how long the cooldown is. So you see it was 4 seconds there. It's like 9 seconds if I hold it all the way. Shortest is like 4 seconds right there. And you can basically do it anywhere in between that, and it's going to scale the cooldown based on where you end that slide. So your combat slide's like actual base cooldown is dependent on how far you dash with it. So you can do these little dashes, you can do these further dashes. But something else that's really cool with Ghost that you want to keep in mind with his combat slide is you carry a lot of momentum into it. And so if you jump at the end of it, no matter how far you're sliding, you're going to get more distance out of that dash than you otherwise would. And so you see, just out of like a short version of the dash with the 4-second cooldown, I can get basically the distance of a long dash. So we can see the distance of a long dash here. It's like about there, right? Short dash is like right there. Short dash with a hop is further than all of them with the short dash cooldown. So basically what you want to do on Ghost is like look to be constantly leveraging the left shift hop. That's like your movement juice, and you're going to be able to do that literally like all the time. And the better you get, whoops, see, I fucked up. The better you get at kind of controlling that momentum and using it to your advantage, you are going to find that you have more dashes available more often than almost all the other champions, and you're going to be able to simultaneously get more distance out of it. So really learning how to leverage the movement potential of this dash, I think, is a huge part of Ghost Kit that you're going to find not only very entertaining, but also very rewarding once you kind of really start to master it. And it's not hard at all. You literally just jump at the end of the dash and you're going to get that extra distance. And so, and then on top of all that, when you're fighting, when you do get a knock, like that's going to just instantly reset itself. So you get a knock and you can go right into another like dash jump to chase down the next person or get away. My brother is goated at like getting away with ghosts because of, you know, if you're getting a knock, like you're running away over the abyss and you get like a spike. Spiking's also really easy on ghosts because of, you know, you can kind of like spray, like the Firefox mentality, where if anyone is gliding anywhere in your vicinity, they are at risk because you can just do that and probably hit them. Okay, so going to the rest of his kit, checking out Spike Grenade next. So this is literally a basically stun grenade, and you're going to throw it, and if it connects with a wall, it's going to do a knockback like that. And if it hits the ground, nothing's going to happen. Like, you actually have to connect it to terrain or to an enemy. And it's actually going to do like a little more, like value wise, if you hit them off of the, if you hit it off the wall instead of actually on them. And basically what this ability is going to do is give you like a burst window. So throw a sticky grenade, dealing damage. Stuck enemies are dazed for 2 seconds. When spike grenade sticks to terrain, it explodes in a cone, knocking back enemies and dazing them for 2 seconds. Enemies launched into terrain are stunned. Blasting an enemy from the wall reduces spike grenade's cooldown by 40%. So basically, if I hit her with the wall version, that's 40% cooldown reduction off the bat. You see that? So, and then I'm also getting a 2-second daze instead of a 1.2. So if I hit her with it, it's only a 1.2 second daze. If I hit it to a wall, it's 2 seconds. And then if I can launch her from this wall into another terrain, like that pillar, for example, she becomes stunned as well. And so basically, you can stick them with it, but you're going to get more value if you can hit it off a wall. And that's like another kind of really interesting part of Ghost Kit that you'll start to realize as you play him more, is like having walls around is important on Ghost. And you're going to, the more kind of like choked in an enemy team is, the more value you're going to get out of, you know, grenading that spot and just blasting them all back and like really like letting it rip through there. And the other advantage of this is it dazes them, and we are going to do more damage with our rifle if targets are dazed by spike grenade. So you can see significant amount of bonus damage, 64 bonus damage per shot if they are dazed by spike grenade. And so we'll just do it on her here. But you can see big damage boost. Don't do that. And so this is the time, like, remember how I was talking about sometimes you want to dump your whole mag? If you connect a grenade, the ideal scenario is like waiting for it to pop, and you want your first rounds of your magazine to connect right at the beginning of the grenade popping. And basically that's going to give, you know, your biggest damage part of your magazine this bonus damage as well, thus giving you like your biggest burst window, right? So like sticking to the grenade and then unloading that first part of the magazine into them is going to give you like maximum kind of DPS possible. But then a lot of times at that point, you're just going to want to like hold down the rest of your clip to really just like, you know, a lot of times like that'll get them so low that you don't really want to take the time to like reset it and go back to your full magazine. You want to just like keep, you know, ripping them till they're dead if they're already like that low. So I think using the grenade and basically like waiting to unload like till as soon as the grenade goes off like that, and trying to just dump clip off the grenade explosion is like a really good way to use spike grenade. And that's kind of like the best use case for like dumping your whole magazine, like we were talking about, right? Okay, and then taking a look at the railgun. This is like personally one of my favorite abilities in the game. I love long range shots like this. And it's like a mini version of like Zeph ult, or sorry, of Ezreal ult from League, where it's just like a long range, or it's like a Lux ult really, but like as an ability. And the coolest thing about this is the final upgrade, which is this 20% CD per target hit. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute when we get to like the ability upgrades, but that is incredibly powerful. And so this fires a long range energy beam that deals bonus damage to dazed targets. So again, if you're able to get a daze with your stun grenade, this is going to do 20% damage as well. You have to actually hit it though. Here we go. Yeah, see how when I pin her there, she got stunned. And then that does 20% extra damage because she's dazed. And one of the most interesting mechanics about this that isn't really mentioned in this tooltip is it has a built-in knockback. And so you can see, and that knockback depends on how close I am. So like if I'm far away, like barely knocks her back, right? If I'm like up in her grill, blam, like really knocks her back. And so that's like a way for Ghost to create space for himself, as if like Stalker or someone's like up on your Kingpin or whoever's like up on you. If you can hit him with like a point blank laser, it's going to knock him back and give you that. So you like bump him with your laser and then like get space with your dash jump. Just like a good way to kind of keep. And then you're always wanting to like threaten when you create that space. You own the space as Ghost. Like you have such power in your burst and the shot, like your damage is so good that like this space within your range is yours. You want to really just constantly be controlling the space that's within your range of fire, and like, you know, depending on what your team's doing, like using that to push forward and gain space, or using it to like, you know, move back and hold space, I think is you know, kind of like a really important part of his kit that's like more subtle or not super obvious, is how good he is at kind of controlling his little area with how much damage he can threaten. So we have we have the combat slide, we have the grenade, we have the railgun. The other part of the railgun that's super important is hitting an enemy hunter with the beam reduces the cooldown by 50%. So even without this final upgrade, which we'll talk about in a minute, just the base laser beam is going to reduce its cooldown by half if I hit someone. So you can see 12-second default. If I pop strike with it, she's just gone. Where'd she go? Oh. If I pop strike with it, it's halved, right? So that's cool. Or it's like a little more than halved even in my case, because I have an extra 20% from this final upgrade. Okay, so moving on to his final ability, his ultimate, Summon Napalm. Summons deadly napalm at the target location, leaves an area that does damage over time. So basically, it's Arcane Napalm. It's actually so cool. And it's going to do more damage at the center. And then it's going to leave a burn. So we can see if I do it. See how there's that kind of like sweet spot in the center of the targeting? Like anything in there is in that middle spot's going to take quite a bit more. Well, exactly 50% more, like in that middle laser beam spot. And it's going to leave this little like burning field. This is like a really interesting ultimate. Like you're going to find it hard. Like if I'm fighting Shrike and I haven't done anything to like CC or anything, like she's not going to get hit by this. Like that, unless she's just not paying attention or AFK or whatever. Like it's too long of a charge to just like hit someone with it that's like paying attention or moving or whatever, right? So the way we really want to use it is like a bit of a zoning tool, but it's like the true power of it is when it's used in combination with other abilities. So imagine your Void gets a big Void ult and you drop this in the middle. Imagine your Kingpin gets like a hook slam and the enemy team tries to come in and that's right on the hook slam, right? Imagine your Zeph throws a clutch grenade right here in this choke and they're all there and you see it and you do it right there, right? Imagine, you know, you're running this way from an enemy team and they're chasing you and you do this to try to like, that was a bad example, but you do this to like zone them from getting off there. Or if they're chasing you over the abyss, you know, it's got crazy style range too. So you can hit them with you know, an abyss ult to protect to try to spike and like protect your gliding. Like there's just a lot of ways you can use it. And because you can sort of use it so quickly, there's like a lot of situations where you can use it in unique ways, not just like, hey, I'm going to just like napalm all these people, right? So it's like a zoning tool, but it's an incredibly powerful combo tool. And if you can imagine me getting able to get a grenade stun or like anticipating one, like that, and you know, kind of anticipating where the stun's going to come, you definitely can combo it yourself off of your grenade stun. It's just like a little harder to do, and not quite as reliable, but definitely definitely possible. But so basically, like, look to Napalm off of like teammates engages or like synergies with like what's happening in the team fight, or use it for zoning, right? I think are basically the best ways to napalm. So let's quickly like talk about the upgrades real quick. So you can see in SUPERVIVE, you can only upgrade one of your 3 abilities to 3. You can take everything else to 2, but of your like, you know, your R and B, your Q, and your left shift, you can max rank one of those to 3. And we can see if we're looking at these basically what they give us. So at rank 2, Spike Grenade gives us 2 seconds off the cooldown, which is good. And then if we take it to rank 3, if we give it that 3rd super point, anytime we get a knock, the cooldown on Spike Grenade is going to reset as well. So knocks will not only give us a new combat slide, they'll also give us a new Spike Grenade. So if you're really wanting to lean into this like combat rush reset ability of the passive, I think the Spike Grenade upgrade is like a really cool one now, because you're just going to get doesn't matter if you're hitting or not, you're just going to get a full reset on it on knock, and that's going to be combined with the natural you know, cooldown reduction it already has from having the wall connect, you know. Combat slide upgrade is like actually a really similar idea. So assists also reset cooldown. So especially if you're like newer to Ghost, or if you just have like a goated team and you're wanting to, you know, kind of use your team's momentum to be able to push forward with more dashes, or to be able to, you know, kite backward or whatever, I think that could be a really good option for a final upgrade. You know, basically just giving you like more value out of the passive to be able to slide more and be shifty, or pursue more, right? Just give you like overall better movement. And then the third potential upgrade is on the Railgun, and this is minus 20 cooldown, minus 20% extra cooldown per target hit. And so like we were talking about, the Railgun does give you that 50% base CDR up the first hit, right? But with this upgrade, you're going to get an extra 20% CDR per target hit. And so what this lets you do is, if in a scenario where a team is like clumped up, if I hit like 3 people with one laser, it's instantly back up. Like, so in team fight scenarios or like late game scenarios where teams are like kind of stuck in a choke, or like the positioning's weird, like you can literally just be laser, 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 laser. Like if you're hitting multiple people, you're going to be getting like an almost instant laser reset, and you can just be super, super obnoxious with, look how far the range is on this thing, guys. It's an insanely long ranged ability. Like when you compare it to basically, I mean, it's like longer than a freaking Shrike Snipe. It's like super long. It's like longer than Myth Ult. It's like longer than all the ranged characters stuff like combined. It's really long, so you can really leverage the power of that range with the reset. I think a good default option if you're new is just upgrading this guy to max, because of how kind of good that feels, like cool that feels when you are connecting it. But I think, you know, there's basically good use cases for all 3 of these now. But I do think still that the Railgun's probably going to be the overall most valuable for like the most amount of scenarios for Ghost, especially like later for team fights when you're not getting these knocks to benefit these two like constantly. Then the Railgun's really gonna, you know, kind of like come through and shine. All right, let's talk about equipment real quick. So you're gonna want all the normal consumables for weapons. There's definitely some different good options on Ghost. I'm a huge fan of Mana Blade, Quick Blade. So Tech Blade is a cool option, but my argument against Tech Blade for Ghost is we already have so much built-in cooldown reduction that like Tech Blade is kind of like overkill. And if we look at like the Tech Blade upgrades, it's kind of like the same thing where they're giving us like more CDR for the most part, but we like really don't need that. We're already getting so much CDR like inherent that I think that is like, you know, a bit overkill. If you're going for like a crazy, you know, trying to just like poke your face off, I think literally all three of these upgrades could be good. Probably this amplifier is going to end up being the best with the way you could kind of like leverage it with the Q poke and the way it kind of stacks up. Because we could probably get our Q like this with our Q reset cooldown. We could get it like, you know, almost like instant. And so Tech Blade definitely an option, guys, if you're looking to like go that route. But my personal preferred setup is going to be this Rampage with the stacking AP. So going finding a mana blade and then upgrading into Rampage. And basically what this is going to give us is unlimited mana to do the Q poke thing, to do the dash thing, to do the RMB. This is going to give us enough mana to just let our abilities rip without thinking about mana. Like that's basically the power of Mana Blade. And so it's just going to give you, you know, kind of the option to use your abilities more freely and more often. And then with this upgrade on Rampage, casting abilities or hitting basic attacks grants stack of Rampage. So of all the hunters that can utilize this, Ghost is one of the best because we shoot so fast. Like look how fast we can get to 10 stacks. Instant, almost instant. Like compared to what I was doing with Myth, like you're gonna get way more value on this. Like you can just instantly stack it to 10 basically. So I think Mana Blade Rampage is gonna be a really good kind of default item for Ghost that you can go to. And then I personally really like Mana Blade Quick Blade. Like that's my preferred Ghost setup. And I think there are arguments for actually all three of these you know, weapons, but just like on Myth, I think this Turbo Booster one, actually this sounds really good in theory, guys, this Turbo Boost one, but now that I'm testing it, we like it actually, you look at the buff, it actually like runs out by the time we even land. Like if we're doing the jump thing with the shift, like we land right there and the boost, the speed boost is almost done by the time we land. So even though the Turbo Booster sounds really good in theory, I think what the ideal is going to be is Grace. And so this is going to give us 50 move speed while at full health. So now we're just zooming all the time. Combining this extra move speed with this dash, like we can just cover a crazy amount of distance, really get away or run people down a lot, you know, kind of better or easier than we could before. The main thing about this is it's dependent on us having full health, the bonus. So I think probably for a good like default combo, this is going to be good. I think if you're not wanting the move speed or if you don't like favor move speed, the other option that's really strong is the first one I showed, the Tech Blade with this guy. So I would either go Tech Blade into Rampage combined with Mana Blade into Rampage and then Tech Blade into Amplifier. And I think this is going to be a really powerful setup. Or you can go basically drop your Amplifier for your Grace and go with the move speed instead of the CDR. So basically just depending on like how you're looking to play them, I think either of these options could be really good. And this is kind of like, I think there are use cases, guys, for like most weapons and doing like different upgrades depending on what you're trying to do. And so you could definitely make other weapons work, other upgrades work. This is just sort of what I think is like a good baseline default for just like getting into Ghosts. And then finally taking a look at powers, there's just like so many powers in this game, guys, that this is going to be kind of more of like an advanced guide topic when we look at like, oh, like what's this specific power combo we can use on Ghost in this way, and like maybe that synergizes with certain items. We're gonna like want to do this whole kind of build around some certain powers. Like you can get super deep with how powers work because they're literally two new abilities you're adding to your kit to complement what you already have. And that's why they're over here by your other abilities, because they're literally just like new things you can do. Like I can throw health packs and I can boost with a glider jet now. So now I can throw these, you know, bounce off them while I heal. And then when I'm out in the air, I can just give my glider just extra juice. You know, so literally like two new things that I wasn't able to do before that I can now do. And, you know, certain powers aren't always going to be available. So you basically just want to look at your team comp, you know, kind of what you guys are trying to do, what your win condition is, and who else is on your team. And, you know, as you're going through the game, the powers that are available as you run along, just like be thinking about, you know, how can I potentially use those to complement what I'm already trying to do? And powers are like one of these things you're going to get better at the more you play the game, the more you get used to the powers and using them on different champions and like in different ways and just knowing what they all are. You're going to get a lot better at sort of being able to do this, you know, more kind of like intuitively. But at the beginning, you know, just focus on the ghost kit and whatever you end up grabbing for powers, literally just try to use them to get used to like using powers. Cause I know when I first started playing, it took me a while to, you know, you kind of like learn the kit of the hunter first, and then once you kind of like are doing that a little more, you know, naturally or instinctively, then you start to realize like, oh, I have these health packs, like I could have thrown that out and like maybe won that fight because I got a little heal, or I could have like boosted off it, or I could have like, you know, whatever, thrown I could have got away in that glider scenario if I just like insta triple boosted and then tried to spike him or whatever, right? So, you know, powers are one of those really cool things about this game where I think there's going to be an incredibly deep amount of like theory crafting and potential you could do with the different power setups. And I really encourage you to just try all of them. Like try kind of anything you see that's cool as you're running by. And I think for Ghost, you'll find that movement speed ones are really good. I think anything like that can give you extra movement, like grappling hook or like wings, are good for any ranged character. Like these two, even if you have them together, or especially if you have them together, are like really good because you can basically use air blast to create space. It's like if brawl or someone's up on you, the same way you can use your laser to knock them back, you can use air blast to like try to do the same thing. And then Sandwall is like a similar kind of protection except against like range. So it's like air blast is like your melee protection to get space. Sandwall is basically like your ranged protection to, you know, make a big wall that like, or like more of like a team, you know, team defense where enemy teams like running at your team through here and they're shooting. I Sandwall that blocks all the projectiles, slows them, you know, gives us this kind of like uh, escape tool. And imagine I'm dueling this Shrike, right? And it's like a heated battle, and she hits me with a shot and shows she has her mark on me, and she's about to hit that second shot. If I have Sandwall and she's not paying attention, like I can be just ripping her. You know, imagine I have you imagine like, you know, we're in a game and she's like shooting at me. I'm just like unloading on her and she's like looking to take that final shot and I like make it look like she's gonna get it and I just like sand wall it and then just like finish her and she's just like toast, right? So these two together, I think for like any range character is like a good, you know, kind of like safe bet, or if you can scoop either of them at any point, like pretty useful utility for just staying alive on ranged hunters, basically. Boom. That's it for Ghost. Sorry, that was like a bit of like a long-winded power section, even though I wasn't even like recommending anything in specific. I was just trying to help you like understand. Hope that helps you like understand powers a little better in general. Um, that's all I got for Ghost. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it useful. I'm going to be trying to do this with all the hunters. So I've done Ghost, Shiv, and Myth so far. Those are a couple of the ones I know really well. So I'm going to be trying to do a similar video for all the hunters, but kind of the main thing I'm focused on my new SUPERVIVE channel is like shoutcasting, commentary, like news and like analysis. And so I wanted to provide, you know, some early knowledge for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to play test the game as long as I have, to just kind of help get people started with these beginner guides. But if I look to do any more like advanced guides, it's probably going to be in collaboration with like some top players or people that are literally better at the game than I am. Or, you know, better on those specific hunters or whatever, kind of like I did with that brawl guide on my main channel, like right at the beginning. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to take care of yourself and keep vibing. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.